Greetings, salutations, and welcome to SportsLook, the sports television program for the high plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and tonight we're going to have a former Greyhound great, courtesy of a tape segment we did earlier this fall. We're going to have a current Greyhound great in studio with me. I'll finish up with an overtime, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Greyhound football did not go down without a fight in their last game of the season. They were playing Texas A&M Kingsville. They wound up losing 28-13. Greyhound volleyball did not go down without a fight. They battled Midwestern State in their last match of the season, eventually succumbing 3-1. For Greyhound women's basketball, they had an impressive victory against Navajo Tech. For the Greyhound guys, they had an impressive victory against Navajo Tech. Both teams will start Lone Star Conference play on Saturday against their bitter arch rivals, West Texas A&M. Well, that has been your Eastern recap, so we'll clear this out and we'll air a tape segment we did with the great Mike Sinclair right now. Welcome back to SportsLook, and we bring to the set of SportsLook a gentleman that needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. Mike Sinclair, former All-Pro football player. And Mike, welcome to SportsLook.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Mike, we appreciate your being here because you are a proud student of Eastern New Mexico University. And tell us about the process that got you to play football for the Hounds.
Well, back in 1986, Coach Carthel and another guy named Coach Lucas came down to Beaumont. They were down and recruiting in Houston and heard about some other players down in Beaumont, Texas, and made the trip and invited me up here. It was snowing, my first time ever seeing snow. Well, not first time, but actually being in it. Came here, I enjoyed the trip, met some other great 18-year-old kids, and decided to sign here. And it's like I've told players today when I got to speak to the team, that's probably one of the best decisions that I've ever made.
Mike, there's a rumor that Coach Carthel used to bring guys in during the nighttime and then show them around campus in the day and then fly them out again at night. Is there any truth to this story?
Well, I don't know, but I've heard that too. I happen to be a day visit. But, Coach Carthel, he's very creative, just let me say that.
So what was it about his sales pitch? Why did you want to come to this school when you could have gone a lot of other places?
Well, he told me that he was building a program, and you can be one of the major cogs in the wheel. You put the time in, you practice. He said you probably can be a starter early. You don't have to wait till you're a junior or senior to play here. So that was the great appeal to me. And he was actually right. I put the time in, practiced hard, and I got a chance to start at a very young age.
Mike, what was the big adjustment going from playing high school? And admittedly, high school football in Texas is a step above high school football everywhere else, but it's still not college. So what was the big adjustment going from high school to college?
The mental preparation and the speed of the game. Because your college team is made up of high school all-stars. When you're in high school, you may be an all-star and it may be a couple other guys on the team, but it's not made up of a team of all-stars. But college is. So the game is more faster, it's more physical, and it takes a little more mental preparation when you're getting ready for it.
Sometimes coaches can sweet talk you, and then when you actually go out on the field and start practicing, it turns out they're not quite that sweet. Was Coach Carthel genuine in the recruiting as he was in coaching, or was there a little bit of a difference?
I think when you're recruiting, of course, you got a sales pitch, but then there's you wear a different hat. There's a recruiter hat. Then when you get the kids here, you got a coach. So, yeah, he was a lot of nice smiles. But then, when he went into coaching, You couldn't take it personal. Just trying to make you better. But yeah, that smile disappeared when you got here on campus, and it was business as usual.
There's always at least one upperclassman who looks out for the younger players and kind of takes players under his wing and shows them the ropes. Can you remember who was an upperclassman that helped you?
Dwight Washington and Earl Jones. Those were kind of, the guys that mentored. Cecil Jackson would, he'd chime in and say some things when I was, a young pup. But mainly Earl Jones, Dwight Washington, like I say, would take you under the wing, or you're not practicing hard enough. You're not running hard enough. You're not tackling. They would keep steady, it was a steady reminder of this is business. Go to class. Earl was always saying, go to class, get up, and go to class. So, you was held accountable on the field, and you were held accountable in the classrooms as well.
Speaking of class, what did you major in here at Eastern?
Criminal justice, but I got it in science. I got a degree in my bachelor's in science. Like I said, I really did, reflecting back to the 80s, I really, really, like I said, once I accepted the process that, I'm going to be here. I'm not going to go anywhere. Campus life became better. My play on the field became better, better students. So just concreting myself into this place, like I said, changed my life forever.
Mike, is there a professor or a class that you remember that really stands out?
I think it's Dr. Lockett, or Professor Lockett. He was fair. He was energetic. He was always concerned about his students and actually knowing the material. Not just taking you through a process that, hey, just get it done, but actually looking at your work and critiquing it and giving you feedback on how you can be better, be a better student in his class.
Well, let's turn back to the athlete part of the student-athlete equation. Was there a game that you can remember where you realized, I can play at this level?
I want to say it was one night versus Abilene. I want to say, I think so, because I think Abilene had beaten the University of New Mexico. And then the next week they played us. And, I had a good game. I think I had about 12 tackles, 2 forced fumbles. After that game, I was thinking, I think I can play, and I think I can dominate at this level. So that was kind of the seed. That game I call was the seed game that gave me confidence to, continue to get better. Better player, better student, but I felt pretty good after that game.
You obviously form a bond with the guys that are on your side of the line of scrimmage, but you can make friends with guys that are on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage. So who was your best friend as a teammate that was a D player, and what was your best O player friend?
My best offensive friend would be Travis Kennan. I met him when he was 18, I was 20, took him up under my wing. We've bonded ever since. We're still friends to this very day, still hang out. My defensive friend was a guy named Cornelius Jones, Earl Jones' brother. We were both freshmen, came in, we bonded, and we've been friends to this very day. So I've been, like I say, very fortunate to have guys that you came here in '86 and bonded, and you're still a good friends today. And those two are, offense and defensive guy, but, of course I have more friends at Eastern that I bonded with, but those two, they stand out in my memory.
So looking back at your years at Eastern New Mexico University, what is the game that'll always stand? I mean, the Abilene Christian game obviously was your coming out, your I can play moment, but of all the games that you participated in, what from a team aspect was the best game?
I'm going to say the West Texas game. We played them in Canyon. It was raining, sleet, and snowing at the same time. here's why it was one of the best games. It had nothing to do with schematics. It had everything to do with team unity. Coach Carter sent his wife Cindy to get a tarp from out the truck. She came back with a tarp. So all the players, the whole team they were under this tarp. Special teams, with 11 guys run out. The rest of the guys, go back under the tarp. Offense, 11 guys run out on the field. Other guys, the defense, run back under the tarp. But we were a tight-knit unit. And I think we shut those guys out that game. We beat them, but it sticks out because I was like, we were such a tight group. And it was like something simple as, hey, Miss Cindy, you go and get the tarp? She brought it back. And like I say, it was a defining moment because I was like, man, we're a tight group. And we ended our season with the win. And I really did enjoy, like I say, playing with those group of guys. It sticks out in my mind. I would tell these stories even when I was in Seattle. All my D2 stories, they're like, really? That didn't happen. I said, I actually did.
You were telling me before we actually started rolling the tape, you were telling me that was actually your nickname in Seattle. They kept calling you D2.
Yeah, they would call me D2 because I didn't complain a lot. Here at Eastern, I had a pair of practice cleats and I had a pair of game cleats. I didn't complain. I went out sometimes when those practice cleats were warped. You put them on and you don't complain and you just go get it done. So, my biggest thing I can say that I went from the collegiate level to the professional level with was put your head down and just grind and work and don't complain.
Talk a little bit about the process by which you became a pro. Your senior year, you probably thought, I've got a chance, but what was the moment this is really going to happen?
I think when they put me on the practice squad when I got there because they're like, okay, where are we going to place this kid? He's a tweener, right? He's 250, 252. We have linebackers, but we need to get him a little bigger. So I went to the World League, and teams were lending, their first round, third round picks, sometimes first round picks to that league. And I had a good season. I became first team all World League. And I led that league in sacks, right? And I came back, a lot more confidence that, I'm playing against these other D1 guys that I've seen on TV, and I actually fared pretty well against them. So I came back with a confidence that, I can do this. I can actually play and not just play. I can dominate, in this league. So that's how I became that, that mindset developed.
Well, Mike, it's been a privilege getting to know you. There are certain individuals that will live forever in the story of Eastern New Mexico University athletics, and you're certainly near the top of the list. So thanks for taking some time and sitting down with us.
Appreciate you having me.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up this interview segment of Sports Look. So we'll clear the set and we'll bring in our second guest right now. Welcome back to Sports Look, and a privilege to bring back to the set of Sports Look a young lady from Greyhound Rodeo, Shacie Marr. And Shacie, welcome back to Sports Look.
Thank you so much for having me.
Shacie, in case there are people watching this program who didn't get a chance to see one of your previous episodes, where are you from and what was the process that got you to the squad?
So I'm from Tularosa, New Mexico. One of the very biggest reasons I came here was Coach Albert Flynn. He was very persistent in his recruiting. He came to lots of rodeos, same for many of the other people on the team. All around great guy and great coach. So he played the biggest role in why I came here to Eastern.
Well, let's go a little bit back into the past. And can you remember the first time you ever got on a horse?
No, but there's pictures. But it was a while ago.
So you were pretty young when
yes,
that happened. So does rodeo run in your family?
Yes, sir, it does. Both my grandparents rodeoed. My grandma actually went to the national finals rodeo in the barrel racing. She won the average there. My grandpa rodeoed from being a little kid all the way up, and then they raised my dad that way. And my mom kind of got into it as well later in her life and met my dad.
So did you do any other sports in Tularosa, or was rodeo your sole occupation?
So I played basketball, volleyball, softball, and ran track.
Wow.
All the things.
And rodeo.
And rodeo.
That's pretty impressive.
It was very busy, for sure. But
So what's your fondest memory of like youth rodeo before you started to compete on the collegiate level?
oh wow. Well, as a collective, I gained a lot of lifelong friends and family friends that I'll have for the rest of my life. We went to the national high school and junior high finals multiple times. It was always a really good family adventure. Those were our family holidays. We would set off and go for a week to the national finals and have a good time there, see all the sights in whatever town it was in, and just do whatever we could.
I'm going to ask you a question, and this may be way off the wall, but it occurs to me you were talking about the other sports that you competed in. They're essentially sports where you're at least in the same dimension at the same time with athletes that you're competing against. But in rodeo, it's like you're the only person in the arena at that particular time. So is it easier to be friends with your competitors in rodeo because of that, or does it really not matter?
So yeah, I would say it's probably easier. I don't know if it's harder to be friends in team sports or not, but you don't necessarily see them as often, I guess, so harder to make closer relationships with them. But I've made so many friends in collegiate rodeo on other teams, and just because maybe even they go to Tarleton or something, but they still came from Amarillo or they're from Lubbock, and I knew them previously, or we met and just really hit it off. So,
Well, Shacie, let me ask you this question, and this is something that never occurred to me until right now, but obviously people just see you in the chute getting ready to make your run. What do you do in the downtime between when you're making your goes?
at a rodeo,
Yeah.
well, so in our region, we start on a Thursday and we go till Saturday night. In between that time, all the other competitors are competing, along with yourself. And most of the time, I watch everybody else because you want to get a feel for that setup. You want to see how the cattle are running. You want to see what the goats are doing. So when I'm not doing that, I'm probably doing a little homework, or taking a nap, or eating some food. That's about it.
Necessities, yes,
Yes.
exactly. Stick with the basics. Yeah, obviously in some sports, you hear about people that listen to a particular type of music to get them pumped up. Other people will just do meditation. They'll try to experience mindfulness. Is there any particular routine that you go through so that like 15 minutes before a run, you're going to be doing this in 10 minutes and 5 minutes?
So I get a lot of my strength and ability to kind of push away the nerves from my belief in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I try to listen to worship music before my runs, just when I'm getting ready and stuff. It calms me. And just kind of repeating like verses and different stuff like that before runs, and instead of, because I know I've put in the work, and at this point there's nothing I can do but go out there and let my muscle memory and everything kind of take care of it. So that's basically what keeps me decently calm.
Well, I'm curious, is there a particular biblical passage that you rely, or is it just wherever your thumb falls, you're going to read that?
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, basically over and over and over again. I do read other passages here and there at the rodeos, but that one, when I'm about to compete, I just try to repeat over and over.
Let's talk a little bit about this season. Obviously, great expectations because you ladies have been pretty successful over your
Yes.
career at Eastern New Mexico University. So how, as a team, do you think that the Greyhound women have done this fall? As an individual, or where you would like to be going into the end of the fall before you start the spring?
Sure. So starting off at our second rodeo of the year, my sister and I both made it back to short go and had enough points to place third as a women's team. From there, we've placed third at 2 other rodeos, I believe. And that is attributed to Tyra Shacie and her points in the goat tying, my sister Shaden, and myself. We've had quite a few girls really close. They're just right there, right 11th, 12th, 13th. They only take 10 back to the short go. And I think we've got off to a good start, but I'm excited for next semester to keep going and do better.
Well, you're being very modest. A lot of the points that your team has earned have been courtesy of you. So on an individual basis, did you set a goal for yourself? This is where I want to be in the region at the end of the fall semester?
Yes, sir. I want to go to the CNFR in the women's all-around. So that's my goal, and I'm working towards that. I'm going to get there. So
I was just going to say, you're working towards there as an understatement, Shacie. I mean, you only had 5 rodeos, and 2 of them you were the all-around champ, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. The last 2 we had at Texas Tech and Vernon College.
We'll talk about the experience at Texas Tech in particular. I mean, that's a Division I school, great facility. A lot of people show up. So what's your takeaway from that particular rodeo?
That rodeo is always huge. It's huge, exciting. The stands are packed. The announcer, it sounds just like a pro rodeo. You're out there, you got a rodeo clown. They're talking you up when you're about to go. It's high energy. Everybody's pumped. They have great prizes. It's a lot of fun, and it really puts a lot of pressure on you, and it gets you excited. And it's very different from a lot of the rodeos we have throughout the year. It's more, I don't know, it feels like a whole other level. But it was a great rodeo and did well, so it turned out good.
And obviously the viewers at home are just going to have to trust me on this one, but I noticed that when you came in and you sat down that you were wearing a belt buckle, and not just any belt buckle, but all the championship belt buckles that you could have worn. You wore the Texas Tech. Yes,
sir. The buckles are very pretty there, so they're well made. I'm not sure who makes them, but I do know they're very nice to look at. So
well, if we knew, we'd give them a free plug because that was an impressive belt buckle. Well, Shacie, we've obviously talked to you about being an athlete at Eastern New Mexico University. We've talked about what Coach Flynn has meant to you, but you're a student athlete, and so talk about the student part of it. What are you majoring in?
So I just completed my bachelor's last spring in biology pre-med. This year I'm taking the business MBA program classes, and I will get through with that in the spring.
And so what do you hope to do with your degrees?
So I'm going to chiropractic school the following September.
Mm-hmm. So. How long have you been interested in medicine?
Pretty long. As long as I can remember. I don't remember really ever wanting to do anything different. I did come to school wanting to take the med school route, but through my years it evolved into chiropractic. So. And
in your time here at Eastern New Mexico University, is there a professor that's really stood out as being everybody hopefully at Eastern has been helpful, yes. But who's been the most helpful?
I would have to say Dr. Barlow and Dr. Barella. They were very helpful. Hard classes, but very helpful, and always there if I had any questions, needed anything. Dr. Barlow was specifically helpful with mapping out my degree plan and making sure I had everything to graduate.
Well, I was smiling as you were saying that because Matt's son Hayden is one of the crew here for SportsLook. So I joke with Matt that he should pay me money to ask that question because more often than not, he's the answer for being helpful professor. So let me ask you, in terms of your degree at Eastern, there are courses you take for your major, but we're a liberal arts school, you take gen ed classes. What was the class that had nothing to do with your major that was the most interesting?
I took a sign language class. That was really cool. I really, really enjoyed that class. The instructor, she was awesome. I took it, I think, my freshman year, and I still remember some of the stuff, and I kept the book from the class, and it actually was really helpful. So.
Well, Shacie, we only have about a minute here, so if you could sum up what being a member of the rodeo squad at Eastern New Mexico University has meant to you. What has rodeo done for you, and what do you hope you've done for rodeo?
It has done so much for me, honestly. This being my last year, I just want to thank Albert Flynn so much for this experience that he's given me and the opportunity to be here.
He's a great man, and it wouldn't be Eastern Rodeo without Coach Flynn. Well, Shacie, congratulations on the success you've had in the fall semester. Best of luck in the spring, and let's hope we do see you at the college finals rodeo.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up the interview segment of SportsLook. So what we'll do is we'll clear this out, and I'll finish up with an overtime right now. Have you ever seen a movie called The Truman Show? Starred Jim Carrey, and it opens up with a piece of metal falling out of the sky and startling Jim Carrey. I was reminded of that on Monday night as I was watching the Monday Night Football game featuring the Dallas Cowboys when a piece of metal fell out of the sky and landed on the field at Cowboys Stadium. That was pretty much a metaphor for the Dallas Cowboys, as literally the roof had caved in and figuratively the roof caved in as they lost by 24 points to the Houston Texans. Well, that will finish up in overtime, and that will finish up an episode of SportsLook. I'd like to thank my tape guest, Mike Sinclair. I'd like to thank my in-studio guest, Shacie Marr. Had a new floor director, a young man by the name of Jonathan, doing the duties this week. So for all those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.